Thank you. Thank you so much for the warm introduction and for the opportunity to speak with you here today. As I was introduced here, my name is Kemp Edwards. I'm the CEO and founder of Ethical Profiling. And I often get asked when I'm in social settings or networking what I do for a living. That seems to be the common question outside of what's the weather like and who's your favorite hockey team in Canada. And I'm always stuck trying to answer that question. Normally in networking, we're told we should have a 30-second elevator pitch, which means, okay, 30 seconds, here's what I do. And I can't really express what I do in 30 seconds, in large part because I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm always looking for new opportunities. I'm involved in a bunch of different companies, but the primary one is ethical profiling. And I've come to the realization that the easiest thing to say that also invites more conversation is we build products that have a story behind them. And who we build them for is the corporate sector for the most part. So we look to large corporations and say, listen, if you're going to purchase promotional product or purchase a uniforming program, and you're going to spend all this money on marketing, why don't we give you a story behind that that will go that much further when you go to market yourself? So, oh, this is the wrong presentation. I like that. Okay. I can run with that. In essence, what our plan was behind building products with a story is building a right to win. And what I mean by that is if you can find something that is your unique selling proposition, something that sets you out from everybody else, from all your competitors, on a level playing field, what are you doing that really gives you something to speak about, something for your clients to speak about, something to celebrate? And developing that unique right to win means asking a number of questions. And part of that, and what I'd like to engage you guys in, is asking those questions, because that's how we best learn and figure out how to move forward, especially with sustainability in mind. So my first question is, who in the room has come to the conference for inspiration to produce something new and innovative? Has anyone come here to network and find new clients or new suppliers? Do you know what sets your business apart? And can you clearly communicate why someone should choose your products or services over someone else? That's something that I want you guys to think about as I'm presenting. So, the better than even chance of winning a competitive marketplace for us has come in terms of building something that's sustainable. For us, for the most part, what we focus on is environmentally conscious materials and socially and environmentally compliant manufacturing. Predominantly, the clients that we work with, we try and look at their waste stream and determine how can we use that waste stream to create something innovative. So I've got a couple of examples that I brought with me. You guys probably, actually, Gatorade might not like this, sorry guys. This was the jacket that Coca-Cola used for the Vancouver 2010 Olympic Games. We built something similar for them in Sochi. There's marketing that goes into this, and I often joke with Coke and other clients when they say, who are your clients? And I say, well, we work with the largest marketing company in the world. And they say, who's that? And I say, Coca-Cola. They say, what do you mean marketing? Don't be fooled. They are a marketing company that happens to make a beverage. They're a very, very good marketing company, and if you take marketing, you've probably studied them at some point. What we give them that other people either haven't or can't is a better story. So they don't need to spend $100 million to put up signage everywhere. When they have their guests and their employees wear a jacket that's made out of their waste, this is made out of recycled plastic bottles, they get to tell that story every time that someone puts it on. And every time someone hands something out, they're able to say, yeah, you know what? We're actually wearing our waste. Our pants are made out of it. Our jacket's made out of it. Our shirt's made out of it. Our fleece sweater's made out of it. My ball cap, my rolling duffel bag, my lanyard, every single piece in the Vancouver 2010 Olympic line for Coca-Cola was made with a minimum of 50% content of recycled PET. Now, how does that tie into innovation? My suggestion is that part of innovation moving forward is going to have to take into consideration what the life of a product is, what the life cycle of a product is. And I know from speaking briefly with my colleagues up on stage from Adidas and Nike that they're very much on board, and I love to see that. I love to hear that. They're leaders in that area as well. And it takes big companies like Coca-Cola, like Adidas, like Nike, hopefully like myself one day, to push purchasers in the right direction by making products that are viable, that don't suffer from style, fit, function, or design, that are more environmentally conscious. And whether or not you know it, once you can establish what that right to win is for you, ours being sustainability, you'll identify the core question which is underlying every business strategy. You earn your right to win by identifying or establishing your unique selling proposition, making a series of pragmatic and consistent choices that create your brand identity, and one, this is important for us, one that ideally determines your corporate culture. When we hire someone, I'm asking them about who they are. I want to find out about what they're passionate about. Because when it comes to pushing the industry forward, when it comes towards being innovative, when it comes to being an active participant in your company and coming up with good ideas and asking the right questions of your suppliers and asking the right questions of your clients, you have to have that core value tied into what you're doing on a daily basis. So we're always looking for people who are truly and authentically committed to a more sustainable path moving forward. So if you tie that into what you're doing, it will establish your right to win. And then aligning your most distinctive and important capabilities with the way you approach your customers. Questions to me are what I like to call the catalyst. I spent a long time in sales. I started in the action sports industry where I worked for 10 years, and I was building snowboards. And I built for a high-end snowboard line, and I built for a price point snowboard brand. And I lived in southern China in the Nanshe industrial zone, which I don't recommend anybody move to. And I worked in Austria, in Tiefenhofen as well, and I would fly back and forth. My trips to Austria were very short. Everybody knew exactly what they were doing. My trips to China were extremely long. No one had a clue what they were doing. Half of them had never even seen snow before. And in Austria, we were working with the most amazing quality control and testing systems you've ever seen. We had this thing called a slap test, which was basically just a big arm that would grab the front of the board and slap it and slap it and slap it down. And we'd see how much pressure and how much timing that would take before the board would start to crack or delaminate. And in China, we had what we called the how many people can we fit on this board test. One person would hang on to one end, one on the other. We'd just start piling people on top of the board. You can imagine it wasn't the best testing method. We also had to throw it off the roof of the factory test. We had to slam it on a railway tie test. This is all to say we didn't really learn a lot in terms of the testing. What you might take away from this is that you probably don't want to buy your next snowboard at Costco. But the general thought is that when you look at the different opportunities that come from working in the different places, you're going to learn from that experience and you're going to push them towards something greater and hopefully push your company along towards something greater as well. I found a huge disparity between what was happening in China and what was happening in Austria. And as a result of that, I left the industry and came back to Canada and said, you know what, my boss was very much of the mind that you're only winning if someone else is losing. Does anybody agree with that philosophy? Oh, I'm so happy to see no hands out there. The real way to win is to make sure that everybody's winning. And it's a bit of a cliche, the win-win scenario. I would suggest it's a win-win-win scenario. Your clients are winning, you're winning, your suppliers are winning, your shareholders are winning. And part of that integral story, to me, is weaving in sustainability. Because someone's losing if it's not built sustainably. It's weaving in the social compliancy aspect because someone's losing if it's not built with social compliancy in mind. We see a lot of really inexpensive products on the market nowadays, and I look at them and they're competing and they're winning based on price points alone, and they arrive into Canada, and I said, man, how can you possibly build a t-shirt for $1.15? Someone's made a margin in that. It's flown into Canada or boated into Canada. Someone's paid duties on it. So who's getting stuck actually carrying the price of that? The other portion about asking questions that I think is really important is if you can get your client thinking and communicating with you, then you've created the greatest opportunity for capturing their imagination. Do you guys know what I mean by that? I mean, when the ideas come from your client because of the poignant questions that you're asking, they're excited about it. You capture their imagination for what is possible, and then you work with them to make that possibility a reality. This is the CEO and founder of Soul Technology. He's the owner, Pierre-Andre Senerzigis. Sorry. He's on the solar-powered rooftop of their offices. When I was in the action sports industry, this was about the only company that was doing anything even remotely looking towards sustainability. They've had organics in their line. They had recycled rubber in their shoes. Now, happy to say that a lot of people come a long way since then, and I'm speaking more specifically about the action sports industry, the snow skate surf industry, which Adidas and Nike have entered but weren't originally founded in that space. And they're pushing the envelope, as has Soul Technologies, and we're now seeing more and more of it in the space. What I was motivated by when I saw this action moving forward in that space was to say, you know what, I don't want to be in this if no one's moving in the right direction. How do we start moving in the right direction? So I left and I started working with Soul Gear Design Technologies. I started working with the University of British Columbia and the National Research Council of Canada. And I created Fusion Design, which I still own and run, and it kind of plays a role behind ethical profiling. And we built the first bioplastic eyewear, which I still have today. And had the Olympics not come to Vancouver, it might very well be what I'd be doing today. Instead, I got offered an opportunity to work with the Hudson's Bay Company, who's our largest retailer in Canada. And they said, hey, we'd very much like it if you'd come to Toronto and talk to us about our Olympic program. I thought this was going to be a consulting job, so I didn't really pay too much attention. I got there. I was on my way to Italy to meet with our producer for the sunglasses anyways. And instead of going in there with a sales pitch, I went in there with a number of questions. So those are those eyewear there. And I said, which clients are you targeting? Do you have existing relationships with them that you can leverage? What are your sales goals? What kinds of products are you set up to produce? Are environmental considerations important? Are they important to you? Are they important to your clients? And who are your competitors? And then, of course, what's your right to win? They asked me to take a lunch and come back. And when I came back, they offered me a position leading their B2B sales for corporate Olympics. And I thought, well, I don't really want to work for the Hudson's Bay Company, but I'll start a company, which is when I started ethical profiling. And I said, you can hire that company, and we'll work together to see what we can do. So fast forward about 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm sitting at a table with Coca-Cola thinking, oh my God, this is a huge client I'm sitting in front of. How do I capture their attention? And rather than pitch to them that we were the best to do the job, I said, you know what, I'm going to take the exact same strategy that I did with HBC, which wasn't really a strategy at the time, but it now had become one, and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. And those questions are going to look something like, what do you want to do with your program? What are your objectives? And my expectation was that they'd say, well, you know, we want a waterproof jacket that keeps us warm and a rolling duffel bag that rolls, and what kind of question is that? And instead, they said, yeah, of course, yeah, we want fashionable, functional outerwear. We want to ensure that what you're building is consistent with our ideals and our branding and the social and compliancy and environmental compliancy requirements of Coca-Cola and the IOC, which are quite stringent. And beyond that, they said a couple things that really surprised me, especially coming out of Coca-Cola's mouth. I thought I knew who they were. Apparently, I didn't. They said, we want to develop a program that's carbon neutral. They said, we want to produce a program that is zero waste. And most importantly, they said, we want to leave a lasting legacy on the host country for the Olympics. Can you help us do those things? I thought, wow, that's a big challenge, and I'm up for it. How do I find out more about what it will take to achieve that? Now, I have to admit, we got a little lucky in the fact that Coke's waste stream happens to be PET. So the bottles that you guys have been drinking today, that's actually the same raw material as polyester. Most people don't know that. I tell them, yeah, we build jackets out of recycled plastic bottles. And they're like, wow, really? You're like, yeah, it's plastic, so it's polyester. It's not rocket science, but there is obviously a stage involved in taking it from its raw plastic form, that form, cleaning it, flaking it, extruding it, spinning it, weaving it. Luckily for us, there were companies like Patagonia and other forward-thinking outdoor brands that had been working with this material for years. Patagonia calls it capilene when they build it into their fleece. But if you have a Patagonia fleece, you're wearing recycled plastic bottles. There hadn't been that much done to develop a whole bunch of other fabrics. And we said, we really like this space. This is really consistent with our ideals. So we worked with mills both in Canada and overseas and down in the United States. Japan and Taiwan are probably two of the leaders in that space, as well as North Carolina. And we said, hey, what can we build out of this? How can we make this better? How can we complete the story for Coca-Cola? And they said, oh, we can do this. We can absolutely do this. What do you need to achieve? And we said, we need something like a nylon 66, 600 denier for a bag. We need a technical outerwear fabric that's 20,000 waterproof, 10,000 breathability. We need fleece. We need a cotton style polyester blend. Can you do these things? And they said, absolutely. Let's work on this together. And Coke, to their credit, said, you're going to need more time to do this. Tell us what you need, but we love the story. And they joked and said, you know what, we're $100 billion in marketing type thing. And we've never had a story that's consistent across every product that we're doing that is as compelling as what we're working on together. And that, for us, crystallized what would then become our company's right to win. Build products with purpose, give clients a story to tell. And in communicating with Coca-Cola, part of that story to tell was the actual branding that went onto each of the pieces. So you can see some of them up here. Some of them are a little tongue-in-cheek. They were, graphics that went onto T-shirts. Don't hate me because I'm plastic. Green girls are hot. And this is, you'll see the one in the top right-hand corner, Made With, and that's Russian for Made With. That went on to their program in Sochi. The one in the bottom right is part of the program from Vancouver. Drink me, wear me, love me. Now, in all of the products that you find from Coca-Cola, you'll see something akin to what you see on this jacket that tells you how many bottles this piece has been made with. And that's a story that tells itself, which is something they were very excited about. Beyond that, they said, okay, we've got a great story. How do we leave a lasting legacy? So we worked together and they said, what if we collected all of the bottles that everybody was drinking at the Olympic Games? They'd asked us before and said, hey, do you think we could work just with Coke bottles? And I said, well, that's not really possible. We can't separate that stream of raw material. We're going to get Pepsi bottles. We're going to get whatever else happens to be. And it's still a compelling story. And they said, how would we get it just Coke bottles? And we said, hey, you know what? At the Olympics, you're the sponsor. In the entire area, there only are bottles that are the only drinks being served are being served by your company. So if we can collect all of those, we'll actually have a very clear and clean stream of raw material to work with. So we brought that material down to North Carolina. We reprocessed it. We brought it back to Canada. We cut and sewed it. And then we worked with Coca-Cola and we gave it away to the downtown Lower East Side in an impoverished part of Vancouver. And we left the legacy that they wanted to leave. You can still walk down in downtown Vancouver today and you can see a bunch of people, unfortunately, that are less fortunate than most of us. And they're still wearing Coke scarves and toques in the wintertime. So what I want to end with is try and think, if I can see from ages, at least we do have some students in the crowd, and that's a group of people that I'm fortunate enough to get the chance to speak with a lot. And what really invigorates me is to be a catalyst for change when I can. And I would love it if any of you left here with the thought to think, you know what, the potential story of the product that I'm building can be my engine for innovation. I want you to build a story and let that be your right to win. Now, I have other samples up here that I'm happy to show you guys afterwards. And you can probably guess, I thought I'd bring this to Mexico. You probably recognize that. So if anybody works for Corona, I'd like to speak with you after. Anyways, thanks so much for the opportunity to speak with you today.